Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, there's a team that got thrown out of the KD sweepstakes almost immediately. The New York Knicks. They didn't want him at all. Now, depending on who you're listening to, the Spurs might be following in their lead. Did everybody just misread the market? Break it down next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Wednesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer. Get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by the wonderful people at Game Time, the best place to buy any ticket. Download the Game Time app right now. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off your first purchase. Lots of KD rumors and reports and theories, we'll even say, to get to. Joining me to do it, as always, from the wonderful West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling? Ben Garcia.
I'm starting to, it's not like we don't have content. I'm doing great from that aspect, but kind of getting tired, man. I'm ready for a trade to go down. I know in 2 weeks, well, probably 3 weeks, when we don't have a ton to talk about, Katie's traded, we'll be starved for this kind of stuff, but I'm kind of ready to move on. I don't know where you're
ready to watch
at,
Ryan Kalkbrenner in Summer League?
I don't even know who that is, so I guess so.
It's a Creighton guy.
I'm excited to watch.
Everybody says the Suns are going to pick.
Oh, I thought you meant like a guy that's on the Suns. I have no idea who that is. But I was going to say I'm ready to watch Jalen Bridges.
Pick number 29, whoever that becomes. That's what we're going to be talking about. How he played
Jalen Bridges
in
him, man. Yeah,
well, let's get to it because this report actually came out on Monday, but there was just so much yesterday to get to that we didn't do it. But Mark Spears on NBA Today, live from the finals, broke the news, I should say, that KD wanted the Knicks, that there was a fair bit of interest in the early stages of the offseason for Durant to head to New York. And obviously, we heard pretty quickly early on in this whole thing that they weren't interested. We kind of talked through that at the time, but you kind of add that in, Ben, with the growing sense, I would say, especially from San Antonio's standpoint right now, where they seem to be very reticent to speed up their building process, maybe actually doing better in the lottery, rejiggered their priorities a little bit. I don't necessarily know the why, but they are not as aggressive as they seem to want, and that, at the same time, appears to be KD's number one preference. So I'm not going to pretend to know just from a couple reports his exact order of what where he wanted to go, but it feels like you could make a case that the top two places he would have liked to be both are kind of either pushing back or really slow rolling their pursuit of him. What does that tell you? Did he misinterpret this? Did the Suns do something wrong? Is it all just kind of fake negotiating in public? What do you make of that idea that he could have gone 0 for 2?
I have so many thoughts on this. But first, I would say I would like to know if there was any dialogue between the Suns and Knicks. Were the Knicks unwilling to part with Karl Anthony Towns to get Kevin Durant? Because that would be really eye-opening to me. Or was it they have no interest in breaking up one of OG and Josh Hart or whatever it looked like for Kevin Durant? They're like, yeah, it's not worth it to us. We don't want to break up our team to that degree. Or is it C of I know Kevin Durant's awesome, but he does come with his own baggage a little bit, and you're going to deal with the off the court stuff, nothing crazy, but you're going to be seeing topics of him on on every platform because he's clapping back at fans all the time. Kevin Durant he's a different guy, man. He's got a different personality. I don't think if this was Steph Curry at 37, I do think that there's more of a market for him because he's more of a lubricator. And I don't think I don't think KD's an agitator, but he also isn't willing to be the lead man. So I just think there's a lot to it, man. And so I would just go with I think he just misread how much other teams think of him is what I would go towards.
I think that's totally fair. I think that he's never been confronted. This is the first time this has ever happened. You know, you think about in 2016 when he became a free agent, right? He was saying no to the Lakers, to the Celtics, to his hometown Wizards. You know what I mean? And then you go to, it sort of just came together quickly when he picked Kyrie and went to Brooklyn in the summer of 2019. But then you fast forward to the trade market in 2022 when the Suns were on the hot seat to go get him. And then it's the Raptors are nipping at their heels and the Celtics, could they trade Jaylen Brown? What the hell are we talking? Like, and now it's the reality of being a guy who's about to be 37 and is going to be highly paid and doesn't have the benefit that LeBron and Curry have, where they just get to stick with their big market competitive teams until the end if they want to. This whole thing imploded around Kevin Durant, and now he sort of has to go somewhere else because he's not going to win here. And yet he's not as desirable and as valuable at his price and at his age as he once was. So I do think it's pretty interesting. As for the Knicks, to me, the thing is, I imagine that they just valued their centers too much because, I mean, I don't think that they are in love with Karl Anthony Towns. There was some reporting right after the season that his defense frustrated his teammates, and, you know, there's always the things that come with Towns in terms of fit, but you just look around the league, and if you only got Towns and Mitchell Robinson, you probably got to keep Towns and Mitchell Robinson. You can't switch one of those two guys up, even if they're not perfect, for another forward. And we talked about that positional problem from the jump with New York. So I think that's what it was. The two packages that made the most sense all along were probably Hart plus Robinson plus stuff or Towns plus stuff. Either way, you end up getting rid of a big and bringing in another forward. So that's where it comes down. I don't think it's any big sign of disrespect to KD personally. Like they already have Bridges. They already have Anunoby. They've already made two big moves for forwards. The trade just didn't line up to do it the way that they were going to have to do it.
You just said that it's not disrespectful towards KD. Could I point it towards it's reasonably disrespectful? Like, he is an all-time great. I think he's a top 10 player. I don't think you have him there, but I think he's otherworldly talented. And still, even at 36 years old, 37 when the season starts, he's still pretty awesome. But teams aren't willing to gamble on their future on Kevin Durant strictly because of his age and the money.
I think is I feel like the Knicks would gamble. I don't think the gambling the future part is what was holding the Knicks in particular back. They've gambled their future every single offseason transaction that they've made for a while now. All in for Anunoby, all in for McHale, all in for Cat. I think that, to me, it's more of Kevin Durant's not what they needed. They couldn't guard anybody, and they weren't deep. That's their problem. And apparently they thought the coach was rubbing against the players and everything. So they're going to go out and solve coach. They're going to try to get deeper, I would guess, and they're going to try to figure out a way to either defend better or I guess just become so unstoppable on offense that it doesn't matter. But that brings us to the Spurs, which is a whole different type of team. I'll give you credit. Like, you've been on the idea that was one of the better matches, even though I was skeptical from the jump. But I do still think that the one part of my being a little bit having a reservation a little bit about that potential partnership is maybe what's holding the Spurs back. It's still just, are we really ready right now to go out and be competing for a championship with no chemistry between Wemby and Fox yet? Vic coming back from a freaking blood clot, which is a scary thing to do. We already have to integrate the number 2 pick, provided we're not sending it away in a trade, which they're probably not. I think that there's a clear limit. I think that they're way more in than New York is. Let's get that straight. But I think that they're also kind of sitting there saying, do we want to spend the money? Do we want to try to go all in for this small window that KD has left? Do we want to accelerate things so much? So
But for
it's
sorry, I just was saying, I think you're finishing up there. It's just like,
yeah.
I think it's a calculated risk. Like, no. And you and I have talked about this. Would I trade Castle for KD? No. Would I ask for it if I was the Suns? Yeah. Would I trade the 2 pick for KD? You would definitely say hell no. But I think that there are calculated risks in life of like, if I send the 14th overall pick, Sohan, Vassell, and Barnes, like, let's say it blows up my face.
It's not about the limit of I hear you. That's not a lot. I'm not trying to say the package is too much. I'm not even really talking about the package. I'm saying what it represents to bring a 37-year-old Hall of Famer onto your team. What that says is every single thing about what we were as a team is now different. We were a team that was rebuilding and retooling around Victor Wembanyama. Now, we're a team where Victor Wembanyama needs to be the second or third best player on a team that is expected to be in sniffing distance of the NBA Finals. That's a whole different ball game. That's a whole change of what you are as an organization in an instant when you did not expect to be doing that. So that's what I think is maybe holding back the Spurs is what use is there for, I don't know, like Jeremy Sohan. For like, let's say they keep him in the trade. Well, is that even a guy you can afford to give minutes to anymore? Because you got to go win a title. You know what I mean? It is that's sort of where I'm at is you're hitting the gas so hard, and I just don't know if they're ready to do that.
At some point, you're going to have to hit the gas. I don't think everything is gradual. The Suns went from a bubble team that didn't make the playoffs to a finals team the next year. So I don't think it hurt them. OKC was a slow growth. Indiana wasn't. Well, I guess Indiana was as well. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So it's worked both ways. I'm surprised by the Spurs. I think they could have won this competition fairly easily if the Suns would not be unreasonable and ask for the 2 pick or Castle. Yeah. But I just think it's a small price to pay to be I think a legitimate contender in the West, and who knows what happens. KD's still a good defender, and you're not giving up much, but I get it.
Point being,
I think it's caught Kevin Durant by surprise, though.
Absolutely. That's a good way to tie a bow on it because it is showing us that the bullseye in the middle of this is a lot smaller than I think he expected it to be. And probably than the Suns did. Because you're seeing the Spurs, hey, we're too young, we want to slow things down, we're not quite ready. And then you have the Knicks, well, we're already too all in, you don't quite fit, we don't have all the pieces to get it done, it doesn't perfectly line up financially. Two opposite ends of the thing, and yet both of them are sitting there saying the same thing. Not for us. So that's why the list is maybe smaller than people might have thought. We'll close out the show with what we think the best deal is right now and how maybe even the two teams we just talked about, probably not the Knicks, but the Spurs for sure, could become the best deal. But we got to talk about what might happen if that bullseye is too small to hit at all. In the news today, people talking about the Suns keeping KD. Is that realistic at all? Next. First, today's show brought to you by the Game Time app. There's nothing like the NBA Finals, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live, and this year's matchup is already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. We got a lot of stuff going on in the Valley. My mom actually took all of us for Father's Day to D-backs Padres on Sunday, so I told her to use Game Time. Of course she did. We've got the Gold Cup coming to town. I don't even know who the teams are going to be. Maybe that's already known, and I'm just an idiot. That's on the 28th. There's also WNBA. Kalia Copper is back. The Mercury Big Three are on the court together. Go to Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Last-minute deals, views from your seats, all-in pricing, all that great stuff we all love about Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Ben, let's keep the show rolling. So this was, I would say, put out and blown up by Brian Windhorst today in an appearance at ESPN Cleveland, where he does a weekly hit on the radio and kind of just ends up talking about the whole league. He said, I would not rule out the Suns not being able to get a trade they like and having to make a decision, like, do we not trade him at all? I think there's been some other people, of course, that kind of leapt on that. We had Dwayne Rankin reporting on Tuesday that the Suns' leverage is kind of in the tank because it's an open secret that they're going to trade him. He only has the 1 year, all the stuff we already knew. It was just a down day in the marketplace, let's say. The stock market of Kevin Durant went down a lot of points on Tuesday, and people were kind of wondering, could Wendy's speculation or spitballing be right, Ben? And I mean, we were sort of talking about that down the stretch of the season, but then the ankle sprain and missing the playoffs, and now you're this far into the trade negotiations. I find it hard to imagine that they could keep him, but they also can't just take a terrible deal. So where's this headed?
Well, I think it's important to immediately kind of decipher what Wendy was doing here. I think you and I both agree. I think this was Wendy spitballing. I don't think this was him reporting or the Suns telling him, hey, leak this, that we just might hang out with, we just might have Kevin Durant going into next season. I think everyone knows, like, some leaks are just so stupid and some rumors are just so stupid. Like, there's no point to the Suns to leak those. Other teams immediately heard that and said, yeah, okay, run it back. I dare you. See how well that went.
Yeah, I agree. He was just doing a radio hit and talking NBA. He wasn't trying to sit there and do a whole,
reporters could have opinions
on behalf of anybody. Yeah, exactly.
I think it is silly. Just silly to think that Kevin Durant could run it back with the Suns. This has been a long time coming, if you consider February a long time, where he's been on the trade market for a while, man. And the market has spoken. It's not as diverse as maybe we thought it would be. And Kevin Durant, like, it's just too toxic here, man. It doesn't work anymore. He kind of wears out his welcome, I think, after a couple of years. And I think it's not so much him, but it's the front office being like, okay, we have to move on. I think there is a chance that Kevin Durant would want to play here. It's Phoenix, man. But at the end of the day, like, no, I just need one tangible reason why you would bring Kevin Durant back next year. You're not competing for a title. I mean, if you're not going to pay the guy, it's time to move on, and it's best to do it now rather than later.
Well, that's the thing, right? You talk about paying him. I think that that's kind of where you have to go with the conversation is, if the trade market is so terrible, which I don't think either one of us think it's so bad that they aren't going to find a single deal they would want to say yes to. So it is a little far-fetched, but if you just play it out as a possibility, you keep him. He's still eligible for an extension. If at age 37 you don't pay him, you're kind of holding him hostage, right? It's pretty cutthroat to say, we're going to make you play out your final season, risk injury, and potentially your last chance at a major payday in your NBA career, given you've already had multiple pretty significant injuries and you're older. And then if you do pay, so let's say you offer him, I guess he could try to say no and then choose to play it out. I don't think he would do that. But he also doesn't want to be here for the rest of his career because it doesn't give him the best chance to win. So then you're almost holding him hostage in a different way. You're holding him hostage in a bad situation. So if you thought it was tense in February when they tried to trade him a little bit behind his back and things got awkward and the relationship was damaged, I mean, the reality of keeping him, it's just going to get uglier and uglier than that. So I just don't think it's tenable to go down either one of those pathways because that extension is such a key part of all this.
If the trade offers are that bad, like just laughably bad, let's say the Spurs are like, we'll give you Vassell, Barnes, a couple of second-round picks. Like, it's just so laughably bad. If you think you can get the same offers at the trade deadline for Kevin Durant, then why not run him out there until February with the promise of like, hey man, we're going to get rid of you anyways because we'll take whatever we can get. I guess there's some.
So then do you extend him in that case though?
No. I wouldn't extend him. And I I know
I don't think I would either if I'm Matt Ishbia, but then, I mean, you're leaving him high and dry there.
Well, sure. But I don't.
Because the team that would take him, even if they're off, even if he's smart enough guy to understand that you can't accept Vassell, Barnes in 2 seconds or something terrible like that. Yeah. He's also thinking of it from the standpoint of, okay, but if you took that, then I would get my money. So you're standing in the way of my money, you know. And then I got to go play for you for 50 games. I understand it's sports. They're paid $100 million, all that kind of stuff we can always say. But like it's at least unprecedented in the standards of the NBA to treat a guy like that.
Totally get it. However, everyone is not you. A lot of people are frustrated with Bradley Beal, right? And I promise there's a point to this because they claim Bradley Beal is holding the Suns hostage. He's got a no trade clause. He's got a lot of money. I think it's unfair to say that the Suns are holding Kevin Durant hostage when Kevin Durant at age 37, when the season starts, is kind of holding the Suns hostage. I don't want to jump into the next segment, but like we know of some deals that are out there right now, more specifically the Minnesota Timberwolves, who, whether we like the deal or not, like we don't have to get into actual names, but whatever the Timberwolves are getting, if the Suns think it's the best deal and KD is out there leaking that he doesn't want to go there, and it is absolutely a team that just went to the finals last year, kind of contending. Like, listen, man, you don't get to go to the San Antonio Spurs. We know you want to go there, but you kind of got to scratch our back too, and we'll scratch yours. I think it's unfair to say the Suns are holding him hostage if they did keep him on the team, because KD's kind of holding the Suns hostage a little bit by holding their feet to the fire and stopping them from getting the best deal. I think that's fair.
No, it's fair. It's fair, but I think it's just a matter of levels, right? He is making it harder for them to get the best deal. Agreed. But they can still trade him any old freaking time that they want to. They have the ability to do that. If they have to offer him a contract. So in the world where they keep him, they're directly cutting off his money if they choose not to extend him. In this case, he's not directly cutting off their ability to trade him to Minnesota. He's just making it a little harder, maybe depleting the offer. So that's the difference. One is like a direct FU. We're gonna prevent you from doing and getting what you want. KD's just kind of like making it a messy version. You know, he's not preventing the Suns from doing anything.
If the Suns get an awful deal, like let's say that they end up trading him to the Timberwolves because it's the best offer, but the Wolves pull back on their offer because he won't sign an extension. I would agree that I would say that this is Kevin Durant holding the Suns hostage because maybe they're cutting off the money supply to him that we know the Timberwolves would get him, but whatever, right? If the Suns don't ace this Kevin Durant deal, I would say it's like an 80% chance they're going to have to trade Devin Booker. Like, that's the only way you get out of this mess because you can't put a capable team around him. So if we're cutting off the bloodline of money to him, he's cutting off the Suns' ability to keep Devin Booker, and I'd argue that's even a bigger thing.
My point is they have ultimate control, and he's just doing the max that he can within the power limited less than they have that he has. You know, I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm just making the distinction that he doesn't have the power to mess up the situation as much as they do. And if they kept him, that would be the ultimate messing up of the situation. Kept him and didn't pay him, you know.
But he's not going to be here next year.
He's not faultless. Look, he didn't sign the extension last year, which might have made this trade easier if he was under contract for longer. He had parts of his performance that you could point to that contributed to the Suns not fitting and clicking like we would have liked. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. It's not one or the other, but yeah, he's not going to be here next year. I mean, I think what would you put it at? 5%, 2%?
No, 0. He's not going to be here. There's no way, man. It's too messy. I guess it's
you don't
5%.
Go this far and back out.
5%. Like I'll give a Hail Mary to someone.
If he's here, if it's 5, probably that's a situation even more so than Beal, where he might just not play.
Or
he might just sit out because you can't take the risk of getting hurt. And if they already plan on trading him in February anyway, and you're just waiting for some team to get desperate enough to up their offer, then he doesn't even need to play. It's not like you need to see what Kevin Durant looks like. So that might even be where it would go.
Well, you might, right? Because he'll be 37 and guys fall off a cliff all the time. Like Paul George, we thought was great, fell off a cliff immediately. KD could do that, and that's the risk.
But you don't want to watch a guy to see that he didn't fall off a cliff. I mean, that's kind of a weird. What you last saw from him was really good. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be like, hold on, can we check if he fell off a cliff? Could you go out there? You know what I mean? But let's get to what the best deal is right now to close out the show. We've talked about yesterday what could hold up each trade, but we haven't spent as much time being like, what's the current offer and which one's the best? So we'll do that coming up next. First, today's show is brought to you by Olipop, a new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda but want something that supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 in an orange Fanta, but Olipop flips that script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients like Ollie Smart. Their own blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. Somebody said I've been moving for 6 months. Sorry for referencing my move consistently in the ad reads, guys. Give me a break. We were not officially moved in and home until we moved the sweet, sweet supply of Olipop that the wonderful people over there gave us. That was part of the last load this morning to our new home. It's in the fridge now. We had a can at dinner, and now it's home. So get a free can of Olipop for yourself. Try it out for yourself. Buy any 2 cans in store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. Buy one, get one. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim that free can and find where Olipop is sold near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Ben, let's close it out. So I'm just going to give it to you. You just give me your answer, and we'll start from there. We've been following the reports out there. We've been talking it out each day on the podcast. We know kind of what the swing pieces of each trade might be. What is the best offer that you've heard that is most likely on the table, whether that's from Gambo or local reporters elsewhere or national people or whatever? What's the offer you like the best that's on the table right now for Kevin Durant?
That we've heard, I would say the Heat, but we haven't heard Khalil Ware is going to be in that deal. Today, Gambo sort of said, sort of didn't say that Gobert, Dillingham, and or Terrence Shannon, and Dante DiVincenzo, and the number 17th overall pick are on the table right now for Kevin Durant. I don't know if that is contingent on an extension. Maybe that's the deal if KD is willing to sign an extension with them. And if that's the case, that is by far the best deal. But if Dante DiVincenzo, Rudy Gobert, Rob Dillingham, and the 17th overall pick are on the table, Brendon, you have to take that deal. Even if Kevin Durant doesn't want to go there. If that's the deal, not contingent on him signing an extension and just them wanting Kevin Durant that badly, you have to make that deal. And I'm so over this idea that Kevin Durant is going to go where only Kevin Durant wants to go. I pointed this out last night, and you were the one that told me, like, yeah, dude, that doesn't happen as much anymore. Damian Lillard didn't go to his preferred trade destination. Jimmy Butler didn't go to his preferred trade destination. Kevin Durant is awesome. He's a top 10 player of all time, in my opinion. He's 37 years old. The Spurs aren't showing that they really want him that much to up their offer. The Heat won't put Ware in the deal. The Knicks said no. If you could get that deal, man, that helps out the Suns in a few different instances. One, helps you stay competitive now. Gobert is a fine player. Dante DiVincenzo can shoot the 3 ball. And if you want picks, 17th overall pick this year, as well as Rob Dillingham, who is a young player that I just consider, in my opinion, to be someone who is a draft pick in all respects. Like, I consider him a draft pick because he was so high drafted last year. The Timberwolves traded up for him. So I don't think it's close. I don't even think it's close, man. I think that is the deal you do if you're the Suns, whether Kevin Durant wants it or not.
Yeah, it kind of bounces off of our last segment too, and I just want to say it here because of the idea of trading him somewhere that he doesn't want to be, quote unquote. Like,
yeah,
part of why I think that doesn't happen as much is nobody has cap space anymore. So Jimmy this summer, right? Okay, so don't sign the extension with the Warriors. Become a free agent. You're going to go to Brooklyn?
Yeah, just be Brooklyn.
Maybe Detroit can make some room for you. You want to go to play with the Pistons? No. You know what I mean? So that's a big part of what looms over this is for a long time players could say, well, if you don't trade me there, I'll just leave in the summer. Well, no, you won't. And if you do, you're going to need our help because you're going to need it to be a sign and trade. So we can't burn the bridge, So I think that's part of why teams have gotten a little bit of the leverage back in that regard. I don't know if it's Minnesota. I agree. Until I know for sure Khalil Ware is on the table from Miami, I can't pick that one. That one has to be Ware. Otherwise, I'm not really interested in the Heat's offer, if I'm being honest. I don't hate the Minnesota one, although to me it has to be Dillingham. He's like one of those really old rookies too. He's already 24 this past season. He's about to be 25 in his second season. That worries me.
Decent player.
Yeah, like a guy who's probably could be a role player for a long time, but not equivalent to a first-round pick, to your point. So that it has to be Dillingham for me to even want to say yes, and I would try to get 31 from them because that's basically another first, and they have that pick this year. I think that I don't know. I have this weird feeling that the Spurs, including Castle, is not as crazy as it sounds. I know that's not on the table, so I'm kind of breaking my own rules with the question. But it feels like we might be like tomorrow this time when we're recording, it might be like the Spurs are willing to give up Castle. Like it almost feels like we're right on the cusp of it, but I don't know. Because you're kind of hearing the media story be like, was Castle really that good? Yeah, he won Rookie of the Year, but it was a bad draft. Can he not? If he can't shoot and Fox can't shoot and Harper can't shoot, are they really going to keep all three guys and be trying to win games? Is that feasible, or are they going to reset with Harper in that spot and maybe Castle becomes expendable? Like that's kind of seeping into the conversation, so that would interest me.
What's that deal? I'm just curious. Do you still get the 14th overall pick in that deal? Do you still get Barnes? Like I'm just curious what that framework would be.
Yeah, Barnes has to be in it because of the money, but I think that I mean it's probably it's Barnes for sure. Maybe if it's Castle, they say, oh, we're not doing Vassell, we're only doing Keldon Johnson. Or maybe it's Vassell's in there, Barnes is in there, but you're not getting 14, you're only getting Castle. I mean, I don't know. There's a million ways it could go, but Castle would maybe put that offer over the top. And then Houston sounds like they're willing to give up Jabari Smith. Like, I got to say, if you can find a third team for Jalen Green and you get Jabari Smith and 10, that's pretty close to something that I would take if it's with Houston.
Better than Minnesota?
I need to know what's coming back from the Jalen Green trade. I don't love the Minnesota trade because of what we talked about, that Gobert helps you be competitive now, but he's not a long-term solution in any way. He's already an older guy. So he's going to be off the books in a couple years. He's probably going to start breaking down soon, and then you're going to be right back to square one saying the Suns need another star. They need another center. How are they going to compete around Booker? Like, if it was somebody even a little younger than Gobert, I might go for it, but I can't get behind that.
We both didn't say the Raptors. We both didn't even mention the Raptors.
Yeah. What do you think of this one? Because people have been talking about RJ Barrett, Pirtle, and 9. That's kind of like what we think it would be from Toronto. And I almost feel like I'm going crazy because a lot of people whose opinions I respect, both Suns fans and national people, are like, that's a good deal. The Suns should take it. I'm like, for what? What would be the upside of that type of, like, what sell me on it? Like, somebody tell me, why am I wrong here?
I'm not going to sell you on it. What is Jaka Pirtle a top 15 center in the NBA?
Maybe, but
maybe
he's 29. He's going to be this upcoming season. He'll be 30. It's kind of the same thing as Gobert.
So you and I texted this morning, and I'm assuming that's why you did, was like, where would you rank the Quickly Pirtle 9th pick? Which, remember everyone, Gerald Bourguet put this out. You can't have Quickly and RJ Barrett. The money does not work. I think it's the worst deal now. This morning I thought it was the second to worst deal because I didn't know Dillingham could potentially be in that Timberwolves deal. But to me, it's the worst deal now. Like, what am I going to do with any three of those guys? I'm just getting the 9 pick. And if I don't hit on the 9 pick, what am I doing? What am I doing?
You could say that with a lot of these trades. If the pick
I know what I'm getting. Then you're not. And Gobert. I know what I'm getting.
Yeah. The player part of it is weak. That's
really weak.
So, like, would it change your mind if Grady Dick was in it too?
No, I don't. And I'm not going to. And here's what I'll say.
I don't watch Toronto prospects.
I was just going to say the same thing. I was just going to say the same thing. I don't watch a lot of Toronto Raptors basketball. I couldn't tell you. But from what I, casually looking from the Raptors from afar, no, he doesn't interest me. I didn't watch a ton of Minnesota basketball this year. I watched more than the Raptors because they're in the Western Conference. But Dillingham didn't play that much, and there's a strong reason for why you could still think he's still awesome.
I watched him in the small gym, Dillingham, at Summer League last year, which is like a high school gym, basically. If people have ever been, they know what I'm talking about.
It's fun.
He's small.
I
Dillingham
think Dillingham
is like real person small, not NBA player small. He's like, if you walked up to him, you'd be like, that guy's pretty scrawny, even though he's taller than me.
Have you ever stood next to Tyus Jones? He's small.
He's short. Tyus is pretty bulked. I'm saying with Dillingham, it's like he's just slim.
He's also 19.
Yeah, no, for sure. Mikhail is scrawny, right? Like it changes. But when you're 6 feet and you're scrawny, that's a tough thing to overcome. So it'd be nerve-wracking, but let me give my answer. I would agree with you. I think Quickly definitely interests me more than RJ Barrett. I've been really frustrated by RJ. I covered the draft much more closely back when he was coming out, and I thought he was going to be awesome. He's not really lived up to it as an offensive player. He just can't really score. He can't consistently score, and that's just limiting. So I agree. But even with Quickly, it's just not competitive enough with the other offers. And Dick's defense worries me, so I just don't think I really get super excited about that one either. So my answer is... What is my answer? Probably the Heat. Or no, sorry. Probably the Rockets. I meant to say Houston.
Yeah.
The Rockets. I know we don't know what the Jalen Green aspect of it is, but the fact that we saw that thing from Michael Scotto that we talked about yesterday where it said they're already scouting the marketplace for flipping Green, if they can even get anything really back for Jalen Green and Jabari Smith and 10, that's probably the one I like the best. You got a good pick, a good young player, and then some other stuff like that. That's about what checks the boxes that I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah, mine's the Timberwolves, contingent on what the Suns could get back for Green because I do not want him here in Phoenix, and contingent on seriously, Jabari Smith in the 10th pick just gets blown up if Jalen Green is here. It's a terrible fit.
No, I don't see any world where they actually would keep Green.
You can't do it. And then the Heat number 1 if Ware gets added, the Rockets number 2 if I get something tangible for Green, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves. But right now, from the reports that we've seen, it's the Timberwolves because I haven't seen Ware added in any deal, which is, again, the Heat and the Spurs, I don't know how they're doing business. I think it's crazy to not add.
Miami reporter today, which, it wasn't a substantive enough thing for us to really dig into, but the idea that Spo is the one pushing for KD in Miami, that's an interesting wrinkle. I would imagine that makes it more likely to happen if the voices in the building is the guy pushing for it.
Bro, they just got burned by Jaquez. Jaime Jaquez was awesome his rookie year. Last year, fell off a cliff kind of. Not the same player. What if that happens again with Ware? We're taking on just as much of a risk here. No one's fleecing anyone. And just really quickly, I was on a squad show today with Locked On NBA, and we were kind of discussing that trade you did, the mock trade with Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat, and he kind of mentioned the same thing, man, of it's Kevin Durant. I think everyone in Miami Heat land is really selling short how good this team could be with a primary scorer and in the East. So just that's my last point is the way the Heat and the Spurs are doing business. I think it's crazy to keep out Ware or Sohan for that matter. But yeah, just wild, man.
Obviously, plenty more to come by the next time we record. We'll have you up to date on every single thing going down in the Kevin Durant marketplace. Keep it right here. Hit follow, subscribe if you haven't already. Become an everydayer, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.